like I said, like, they say don't speak ill of the dead, but I don't agree with that. I feel like if you were not the best person when you were alive, you passing away does not now make you a saint. I'm Hello and welcome to Black Woman Things. I am Tyra, and my dad was found dead on August 16th, 2023. So, yes, this year, like almost 3 months ago. And that is something that I have been dealing with in the privacy of my own, circumference. But I feel like now it's been some time I can finally come to y'all and actually talk about my thoughts because I've gone viral a couple of times talking about my dad, and it's always been negative because around the time that I turned 18, my dad woke me up in the dead of night and kicked me out. He straight up was like, "You need to pack your things and get out of my house." And then in the morning time, he texted me like, "Where are you?" Because I had packed my things and I left. And just over the years, my dad, he's had, mental issues and, just me living with him, it was an incredible, incredible, incredible inconvenience to him. And this was an inconvenience because he was living alone prior to me coming to him. And the reason why I came to him is because my mom ended up passing away when I was 5 years old. So when I came to live with him, he had his own life, his own job, whatever, what have you. And he ended up losing his job because he constantly had to leave early to come and pick me up from school. And then the place that he was living was actually a shelter, a men's shelter. He ended up losing that place because you can't live in a men's shelter with a young child, a young woman. So yeah, and I feel like a child too, right? So I ended up having him essentially like change his entire life, and him changing his entire life, like I said, it really just ended in this man just spiraling and just in the worst of ways, to be very honest with you. And so as I grew up, it was very clear that, like I said, he had mental issues. My dad was very depressed, like very much so bipolar, very much so jealous as well. Like my dad wasn't raised with all the glitz and the glams and da da da. My dad was raised very much so poor, as I was raised very much so poor. My dad was raised abused, right? I was raised abused. So it's like he experienced just a lot of trauma in his time, and he never got the skills that he needed to be a good man, let alone to be a good father to a daughter. Because he didn't have anybody in his life. Like his dad, he never knew. My grandma was the person who, was abusing him. So my dad, he, what I mean, was just flying at the seat of his pants. He didn't know what he was doing trying to raise me. And so that's why all the videos that I have is negative. And so the fact that he was found dead, like, honestly, just like rock my circumference, because like I said, like, they say don't speak ill of the dead, but I don't agree with that. I feel like if you were not the best person when you were alive, you passing away does not now make you a saint. I'm not going to sit here and like trash you and say you're the worst person to ever exist in life, but I just feel like that doesn't make you a saint just because you don't walk this earth anymore. And so for my dad, like I said, he just growing up was just very much so physically abusive, very much so verbally abusive, and it just was not at all a good environment for me. Like growing up as a kid, wow, like it was just bad. I was just always sad because of how he was treating me. And luckily, at school, I was like outgoing and like a bubbly person. So I was able to get support from not only like my friends, but like, like teachers, they were intervening. Like I had teachers actively call CPS on my dad, like Child Protective Services, because like my grades went down, my demeanor went down. Like it was very clear that something was happening to me in the home. And like just over the course of my life, like so many people tried to intervene to just like help me, but my dad was not the type of person to allow anybody to help. He felt like, he's the father, he knows all, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. We don't do therapy, that's some white people stuff. There's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with me, you just need to listen, like just, sort of all those things. And so that was just extremely traumatic, honestly, just growing up that way. And like I said, like turning like, around 18 and him kicking me out, like when I like actually graduated high school and like was 18, he kicked me out like for good. Like when he kicked me out around my 18th birthday, he asked me to come back after a couple months. And then once I came back after a couple months, he kicked me out again a couple months later, and I just stayed gone from there. And so my feelings towards my dad are like complex. They're negative. Like him passing away is crazy. Like the I'm not even gonna skip ahead, but anyway, so me just existing now, I haven't talked to my dad in years, like probably like 5 or 6 years. And the last time I talked to him, I had confronted him about all these things that I just said. Like, bro, growing up, you were very abusive. Bro, growing up, we were poor as hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we ain't had no hot water. We ain't have no food. You wasn't allowing nobody to, you know what I mean, to even help. I had family members who was willing to take me in, but you know what I mean? And so like when I was confronting him about all these things, like I was molested by people that he had me around. Like when I came to him with this information, he was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. This never happened. You were a good kid. I don't know where you're getting any of this from. And I'm just like, why would I make any of this up? Like you're crazy, bro. And that's why I'm telling y'all, he had like serious like mental like issues, and just like for him there was just like blocks in his parenting and raising me. And it's just man, I don't want to get like emotional about the whole thing, but it's just like really crazy because for finding out that he like passed away, like I cried briefly. And the reason I cried wasn't because he died. The reason I cried was because my mom is also passed. So now I have no living parents. And at the time, I was only 26 years old. How are you 26 years old and both of your parents passed? My dad passed at 58. My mom passed at 26. That's insane. You know what I mean? Like, just insane. I don't know nobody who has experienced something like that, where they're my age and both their parents are gone. Um, but like I said, just to have a parent go that didn't treat you the best is weird, because it's like at the same time it's like, but you did raise me. You know what I mean? Like so, like I don't really fuck with you like that, but at the same time you did raise me, and like I am kind of like who I am now because you know what I mean, did what you did. That's why it's like people always say, you know, if you could change anything in your life, what would you do? It's like there's a lot of things in theory that I would want to change, but like when I think about it, it's like being like mother and rape, like all these things, like they made me who I am today. Like everything that I do, the way I walk, the way I talk, the way I interact, like everything about me is because of everything that I've already gone through. So for me to sit here and say like, oh, I wish this didn't happen, or oh, da da da, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. I wouldn't be the same person. So yeah, so my dad, he was found, you know, dead, and he was found because he no called, no showed to work 3 days in a row. There were no family members that noticed he was gone. Nothing. I didn't know he was gone. Like I said, I hadn't talked to him in years. But one of his coworkers reached out to my grandma, and they were like, "Hey, you know, have you heard from your son?" She was like, "No." So they did a wellness check. They went to his place, knocked on the door. Nobody answered. They tried to open up the door. They couldn't get the door open. They had to get like the fire department involved. They finally get inside, and they found his body like in his bed, and he was like actively like decomposed, like like just the smell, like everything, like he had been there for, like I said, long enough for his body to start decomposing. Like all his clothes was on and everything, and the final diagnosis was actually a heart attack. As to how he ended up passing away. He also had like sleep apnea. He was carrying around an oxygen tank. My dad was morbidly obese, like well over 500 pounds, and he was 5'5". So if you can try and envision that, so it's like I said, it's so complex. It's like you passed away, but you were like morbidly obese with the oxygen tank. You know what I mean? Like sleep apnea machine that you didn't like using, oxygen, you know, tank that you didn't like using and wasn't using. So it's just like, were you trying to die? You know what I mean? Like for me in the back of my mind, it's like I don't know if that's what he was trying to do, because like when once I started like hearing more about what he's been up to the past 5 years, they were saying like the pandemic he didn't take very well. They were saying like, you know, he has to work from home. My dad worked in a call center, and they were saying like, you know, he was just home all the time, and like that was like concerning, because when he was just home alone, like all he was doing was just like drinking and stuff like that. And so, you know what I mean? Like pandemic, if you're home and you're home alone all the time, like what are you doing? And it's like I said, he's 5'5", over 500 pounds. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? So it was just like I said, it was just crazy to hear that kind of like the monster in your story is dead. Um, I think that's the best way to put it. Like, it's like he's finally gone, and it's like there's so much in these 3 months about myself that has changed, like since he's been gone. And it's like I didn't realize how much the trauma and just everything that came with him bared down on me regularly. Like, I never realized it until he passed. Like, a weight, like physical weight. I feel like I'm sitting up straighter. I'm talking louder. Like, I'm more confident. I'm open to a lot of things I would have never been open to before. Like, it's just really life changing in a positive way, and I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I don't know if I should feel like a bad person. I don't know if I should feel like I have closure. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, my dad was found dead on August 16th, 2023. I was 26 years old. That's the day that I lost my last surviving parent. Um, Make sure you like this video and share this video with somebody who you think might need it. I usually say might enjoy, but might need it. Do you know anybody who recently lost a parent or who has lost their parents? You know what I mean? Share this video with them. But thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time.